Welcome to the Writing on My Mind podcast. This is where we discuss all things related to the doctoral journey. On this show, I share personal stories and bring some friends along for revealing conversations about their journey and provide inspiration for others to level up as doc students. I'm your host, Dr. Emmanuela Stanislaus. I'm a doctorate coach and diversity consultant. I finished my doctorate in 4 years while working full-time, traveling the world, and balancing a busy social life. And now I'm on a mission to create community for other women of color to complete their doctoral degrees. This is real talk to help you along your doctoral journey. Now, let's get to the show. Hello. Dr. Emmanuela Stanislaus here with another episode of the Writing on My Mind podcast. It's been a while since I've recorded a solo podcast episode. I hope that you have been enjoying the past 3 episodes since my previous solo episode. The first couple had to do with burnout. It was a burnout series. And then the last, most recent episode was myself and 2 co-authors from the book that I contributed to, which is called Our Doctoral Journey, a collection of Black women's experiences. If you haven't already purchased a copy, please do so. We appreciate all of your support. I will go ahead and add a link in the show notes that will take you to the Amazon posting. So definitely check that out. If you haven't listened to the episode, please also check that out. There are so many nuggets that we share about our experiences writing the book, as well as experiences navigating the doctoral journey. So definitely check that out. You will not be disappointed. It's also been a while since my last episode because of a number of reasons. The first is I caught COVID for the first time, and it was definitely not a mild case. I am just grateful to be feeling better. Since the release of the most recent episode, I took a couple of weeks off. I took a vacation to St. Lucia, which is an island in the Caribbean. If you haven't been, I definitely recommend. The island is beautiful. It is like a dream, and it is kind of often referred to as the Hawaii of the Caribbean just because of the lushness of it. It's so green and very mountainous as well. The food is so good, and the people are so nice and friendly. I went on a girls' trip in February 2020, right before everything shut down. And I was hoping to go back with my husband, hopefully later that year, but all of the changes and the travel restrictions really put a damper on that. And so we weren't really able to go until now. Once I returned, I had to jump into some consulting work with a tight turnaround schedule, so I really couldn't get a solo episode out. So that was kind of why there was a gap between solo episodes as well as a gap between the most recent episode and now. But I am back. And as a reminder, on the solo episodes for season 3, we are concentrating on career development specifically for graduate students, doctoral students, master's students. And some of these things apply to anyone. But again, my focus is on graduate students and graduate students who are of color, graduate students who identify as women as well. So today, I want to build on the conversation that I have put out regarding burnout. You've heard from burnout experts, including Amelia Nagoski and Irena Sargent on my podcast, talk about burnout. They talked about the causes of burnout and how we can manage burnout. So definitely check out those previous episodes if you haven't already done so. I have been enjoying the feedback from you all, the DMs that you send me through LinkedIn, Instagram, some text messages as well, just sharing how those conversations have really helped you to navigate burnout, or even helped you to get hooked on the podcast as well. So thank you all so much, and continue to share this with others who you think would benefit from the podcast. Today, I want to take the topic of burnout and combine it with job searching. So, how do you job search when you're experiencing burnout? Today's episode will require you to do some work. So, feel free to take out a piece of paper or open up your favorite cloud-based note-taking app, whether it's your built-in notes app or a Google Doc or whatever it may be. Let's get that ready and maybe have a cup of tea, coffee, or even a glass of wine. Right now I have a cup of tea to just help me with my voice, but go ahead and get that together, because we're going to do a deep dive and really focus on you, because a job search is really about you. And also, exploring burnout is really concentrating on yourself, right? So, I want to start off by sharing that one of the best pieces of advice that I've received related to job searching is to be sure that you are running towards something and not running away from something. That advice really resonates with me and stood out to me, because if you are not clear on what you want, and that it's not just to get out of your current environment, you may end up in a similar or even worse environment. There are some cases where you may unknowingly bring some of the things that you found wrong in your first environment into your new environment. And so that's what that quote is kind of looking at, making sure that you're running towards something, and not necessarily running away from something. Now, burnout really impacts you in a ton of ways. And one of those ways it impacts you in the job search is that it clouds your judgment. It leaves you exhausted. It can influence you to make decisions that aren't the best for you, which may include staying in a toxic environment longer than you need to. And staying too long in an environment can erode your confidence. And on the flip side, leaving too soon may land you in a place where you end up in a worse situation than where you are presently. There are key things to help you have a productive job search while experiencing burnout. First, it's important for you to gain some clarity. And gaining clarity is important because burnout can sometimes make you operate from a place of desperation, because you just want to leave the toxic environment and by any means possible. But what you don't want is to leave and go somewhere equally toxic or an environment that's worse. To gain clarity, you will want to ask yourself the following question: why do I want to leave my current role? Perhaps you're just graduating and you are facing the very real circumstances, like you need to get a job to be able to pay your bills and survive, or to help and support your family. All of those things are influencing you and your job search. Now, related to this piece about clarity is my belief that you have to go through a self-discovery journey. A self-discovery journey may include exploring the next 5 things that I will share with you. The first is, what do you like in your current program and or job? What are you good at? What seems to come naturally to you? What do people compliment you about? The second thing is, what kind of organization interests you? Do you want to work for a startup? Do you want to work for an established organization? Do you want to work for a small organization or a large one? The third thing that you want to explore is, what do you want out of your next role? Do you want flexibility? Is that something that's important to you? Do you want unlimited time off? The ability to work remotely or hybrid? What is it that you are seeking? The fourth thing is, what are some environments that have helped you to thrive in the past? And then on the flip side, what are some environments that have drained you? So really thinking back in your past to see the environments that have really helped you to be your best self. And then the fifth and last is, who was your favorite supervisor and why? Your answer to this will help you to identify certain characteristics and things that you will need in your next and new environment. It's important to know the answers to these questions, as they will help you to assess organizations that you are interested in joining. One of the things that I try to help my clients to understand is, you shouldn't enter a job search from a desperation standpoint, like I shared before. You should be asking questions that help you to identify if an environment is right for you. But you have to know what you want and why, since these answers are kind of your compass to guide you to the right place. I think some other questions that you need to evaluate, as well as, thinking about your current role, like, what is it that you like about that current role? What relatable skills do you have that can apply to anything that you would like to pursue? Are there some particular industries that you are interested in? And if you are interested in particular industries, what roles do they have that might be of interest to you? And then, from there, doing some research, researching the industries to see what opportunities there are, also what opportunities there are for advancing, looking into the job descriptions that are associated with the roles that you are interested in, and taking note of what stands out to you, looking at your experiences and the list that you created based off of your knowledge and expertise and skills that you bring to the table, and seeing how that stacks up against the job descriptions that you find interesting. Now, the key to note is that there are real studies out there that share that men tend to apply for jobs that they only meet 60% of the requirements, while women only apply to jobs where they meet 100%. And so I'm on a mission to help folks to just apply. Do not eliminate yourself from these opportunities if you feel like you don't meet all of the requirements or the bullets that are listed there. If you met all of the requirements, you would have the job and be moving to something else. And so hopefully that encourages you all to apply. So I want to talk a little bit about, again, we're still in the self-exploration piece, and one important piece of this is values, your personal values. I'm sure you might be wondering, what do I mean by this? And so it's trying to figure out, what are the things that you do not like about your current environment? What are the things that motivate you? What makes you feel good about the work that you do? Knowledge of your values will again keep you focused. If you take this approach to allowing your job search to be centered or driven by your values, your job search will take a longer period of time. So you need to know this up front, because what it is that you're not just going to take anything. You're not going to search from a place of desperation where it's like you'll take anything, right? Knowing that your values and being driven by your values with your job search, and knowing that it will take a long time, should release some of the anxiety around time because you are trying to make sure that your choices are aligned with the things that fundamentally matter to you. Do you value autonomy, teamwork, fairness, money, right, to pay your bills and live? An organization that is focused on social impact. These are all kinds of value type things that will help you to feel more fulfilled, right? And help you to feel like you have a match with an organization. You should be able to have a real conversation with yourself about your true values so that you only explore opportunities and accept roles that align with your values. So, what does this look like in real life? When you find an opportunity, examine the job description, visit the company's website, check out their social media profiles, and go through their Glassdoor profile and reviews to get a sense of the organization. And ask yourself, do you see anything that does or doesn't align with your values? Do you know anyone in the organization that can provide you with some insight that you're not able to glean from the searches that you did on the websites and Glassdoor and other things? If you can't tell from what you're seeing or you don't know anyone within the organization, apply anyway. However, you should have a plan to ask questions that help you to get at the heart of whether or not they are aligned with your values. If it doesn't align with your values, you should stand firmly in the fact and move on. Again, I know that is harder said, or no wait, easier said than done, but you deserve to land in a place that is ideal for you. You have been through too much to end up in a place that could exacerbate your burnout. So let's talk about being burnt out and staying motivated during the job search process. There's no doubt that you will receive rejections, which can also be a source of burnout for you. I think that it's important to engage in some mindset exercises before you start and during the application process to help with this whole burnout that could come from rejections. You may actually be in the job search process now and may be experiencing rejection as well. Maybe you've applied to numerous roles and haven't received a call back for an interview, or maybe you've made it to the first round but nothing further, or maybe you made it as a finalist but didn't get an offer. Understanding that rejection is part of the process and putting things in place to manage feelings related to rejection is a good practice. For example, having an accountability partner who will keep you motivated and focused on your overall goals throughout the process. Sometimes burnout will make you talk yourself out of leaving your current role, and having an accountability partner will help you remember why you are leaving. Maybe you have affirmations that you read to remind you that you are that girl. Maybe you have certain music that you listen to. Maybe it's the new Beyonce album, which is filled with lyrics that is inspirational and aspirational to get you through some of the rejections that you might be experiencing. Or perhaps it's using the services of a mental health therapist or a career coach to help you process rejections. You can actually choose to do a combination or all of these, as well as other actions that I didn't even share to help with rejection. But, what I shared are some starting points. Whatever phase you're in, it can be frustrating to go through rejection. I think it's important to know that there are some things that you can do today to make the process easier, and it involves mindset. I was actually listening to the On Purpose podcast the other day, and it was an episode with Dr. Ragan Chatterjee. I know I'm butchering his name, but during the conversation, Dr. Chatterjee talked about how we tend to focus on the negative pieces associated with a situation that we might experience. For example, maybe you are job searching and not getting past that first interview process. While I'm not taking away the fact that it's super frustrating, like I shared before, we can be in a better state of mind if we look at what the situation is teaching us. And that's kind of the process that he talks about. So perhaps with that same situation, the rejection that we're experiencing is helping us to refine our interviewing skills or helping us to gain some feedback that can help us move forward with other positions. Or maybe it's helping us to learn more about what we like or don't like. And so he talks about when we open our mind more to explore how we are growing or learning, we can be able to accept where we are and actually enjoy the process instead of, focusing on the negative or how that experience is making us feel, which can really drag us down and get us to, this state where we're not enjoying the process of learning and growing. So I'll definitely link that in the show notes if you want to share it. I found the episode really eye-opening and just expanded the way that I think about the things that are happening to me on a day-to-day. So I wanted to share that piece of takeaway from the podcast, and hopefully you might find it helpful if you listen to that as well and apply it to your job search process or maybe other things in your life. One of the things that I want to share is that I am putting the final touches on an ebook that focuses on career development for graduate and doctoral students. And in the book, I expand on some of the topics that I have focused on in today's episode, as well as the solo episodes during the season, which includes advice on interviewing, building your online brand, the difference between a resume and a CV, and tons more. I have exercises built into the ebook too that helps you to explore all of the topics that are included in the book. And I'm excited to share that the book will be released by the end of the month, the end of August. And if you want to be among the first to get it, as well as get some behind the scenes, look into some of the process, go ahead and join my book email list, which I have linked in the show notes for you. As I shared in the first episode of season 3, faculty and career centers in general are not really focused or equipped to support graduate students, especially graduate students of color. And so I am trying to do my part in putting this book out, in addition to these solo episodes that I have put out centered around career development. So definitely hope that you will join my email list as well as purchase the book for yourself or for others once it comes out. So wanted to make sure that I shared that announcement before I transition over to the What's Up With Me segment. First up is what I'm reading. I am currently not actively reading something. I have been trying to read The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. I started last month and just haven't been able to finish it because of just all of the things that I have going on. So I am hoping to continue that and hopefully finish it by the end of this month. What I am telling myself, I'm telling myself that I need to slow down and really take in everything that I'm experiencing. I have this tendency of rushing through life, rushing through the good things as well as the bad things, right? And so I think it's just important to slow down, acknowledge what's happening, celebrate the wins, but then also if there are any challenges that I'm experiencing, really take them for what they are and be grateful for the growth that is happening with myself. And so that is what I'm, trying to tell myself these days. And then something that made me smile, I referenced earlier that Beyonce's new album, Renaissance Part 1, is something that I'm listening to now, and it's providing me with a lot of energy. I love the disco, house, and funk influences that she has in the album. And my favorite song right now is Cozy, which just talks about being confident in who you are and, without apology. So I am enjoying the album. So that is something that is making me smile. And that is it for today's episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that some of the advice and tips that I included in here will help you if you are experiencing burnout. They're helpful whether or not you're experiencing burnout and going through the job search. And so, hope you found it helpful and will be able to implement some of these tips into your job search. As a reminder, don't forget to sign up for my book email list to be the first to hear what's going on with my upcoming career development ebook for graduate students. Don't forget to share the podcast in this episode with folks that you think would benefit from it, and to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. And that's it. I will see you on the next episode. Bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Writing on My Mind podcast. If you'd like to support the podcast, make sure you follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts, rate the show, and leave a comment on Apple Podcast. You can also donate to the show by clicking the support link in the show notes. Your donations help me to continue to put out new episodes to help support you and other women of color doctoral students. I'd also love it if you could spread the word to other women of color doctoral students to grow our community. Be sure to also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Dr. Emmanuela. That's DrEmmanuela. See you on the next episode.